Hello and welcome to Zandvoort. This is round 8 of the German Touring Car Masters, and we head off one of the races outside Germany. We're at the seaside in Holland at Zandvoort, a fantastic racing circuit where in the past Grand Prix have been won, history has been made. But for this weekend's DTM, a tremendous crowd, extra grandstand seats have been constructed, and we're looking forward to a very good race here.
Hi, I'm Peter Dumbrek. Welcome to Sandy Zandvoort.
Yes, indeed, Sandy Zandvoort. Here we go with Manuel Reuter. A long straight past the pits, right up to 265 kilometers an hour. Very bumpy in the braking zone here at Tarzan. Feeding the acceleration on. We go up a gear. Very tricky bit of the circuit. The right. And then a very sharp left, the Hugenholtz turn here. I just go inside the Audi. Accelerate up the hill, a blind bend, just off there to the right is the club circuit, but we're on the full circuit today. Very bumpy at this point, and over the rise and down into this right-hander. Circuit dropping away all the time. Again, another technical section here, hard braking into the right-hander, taking a bit of a curb, and then accelerating out again, and another right-hand bend. Threading between the sand dunes here. This circuit is very bumpy. I suppose it's because of the surface. And this is the new section of the course that we're on at the moment. And then heading back this right-hand bend, and then the sharp left-hander. Accelerating away, up the gears again, taking quite a lot of curb, and then the right-hander here, which is going to bring us all the way back down onto the original circuit. 4.37 kilometers. Here we are then back on the start-finish line, and back up the gears to 6th gear, and that's a lap of Zandvoort with Manuel Reuter. David Addison joining me in the commentary position. Super pole here on Saturday, David, and the man expected to go really quickly, Tom Christensen, winner of the previous race, who was fastest in qualifying, but this is the super pole now, and it's Bernd Schneider, and Bernd, the reigning champion, not having such a good season, but hoping for a good position here.
He's not had a win this year as yet, so Schneider needs a good grid position in order to try and boost his chances of a victory. And Bernd Schneider, with the Mercedes, making his way up towards the completion of his one lap, accelerating up towards the line. The target time at this point of the session was the 1:34 of Gary Paffett, and Schneider not quite as quick, a 1:34.537. At that point, second quickest. He'd end up, though, third fastest.
In qualifying, the car was very good, and we improved also a little bit for Super Pole. But now with third, I think third place in qualifying, you have good possibility for the race.
Britain's Gary Paffett still in the hunt for the championship at the moment, 11 points behind Matthias Ekstrom, who leads, and of course Christian Albers in second place in the Mercedes-Benz in the championship chase. We are of course in the final run to that title now. This the third to last race, and Gary Paffett putting in a good time, and as you see, using a lot of curve in the black Mercedes with the fluorescent green mirrors.
Gary would end up the best of the Mercedes, the time ultimately good enough for second on the grid. He wasn't quite as quick as the Audi of Matthias Ekstrom, but a front row start for Gary Paffett, and the honour of being the best of the Mercedes drivers as he comes across the line. A 1:34.168, second on the grid for the young Brit, Gary Paffett, here at Zandvoort.
To be on the front row of the grid's amazing. I mean, Matthias did a great job, and only just beat me, so I think we've got a very good position for tomorrow for the race.
Pavic, Schneider, Tomczyk thus far. Christensen, David, not putting in the sort of lap he put in qualifying. In fact, a second slower. He'll be disappointed, but this is the man who really is charging for the pole now. Mattias Ekström from Sweden, sometime rally driver, and really has been the star of the Audi drivers this year.
He was a tenth quicker at the first sector than Gary Pavic, and Mattias Ekström then now making his way up towards the completion of the one flying lap that each driver is allowed to do in the Super Pole, and this would be the lap that would put him on to pole position. Mattias Ekström accelerating up across the line, the time to beat a 1:34.1, and he did it by a tenth.
The grip was much worse. I was half a second slower, and actually I felt that I should be half a second faster, but still the lap I had to do, and I tried to do each corner as good as possible, and for sure the time was running, but when I saw the time when I crossed finish line, I was very happy, because still starting in front is very good.
So let's look at the grid. Mattias Ekström on pole position from Gary Pavic and Bernd Schneider. Martin Tomczyk an impressive fourth ahead of Christian Abt and Tom Christensen. Albers only seventh ahead of Reuter, Scheider and Fassler.
60 kilometres of cable, up to 46 cameras, and over 120 professionals are engaged in bringing you DTM on the television. Let's have a little look on how those pictures are made. The company behind it all, Viga from Cologne in Germany, and they broadcast live in 16 countries with the DTM, and of course further edits which you're watching now. They get as close as possible to the action. For the TV production crew, it's always pleasant when one of the drivers comes to see how they bring the television pictures to the rest of the world. Heinz-Harald Frentzen then sitting in watching the onboard cameras. The onboard cameras, of course, live. There is the little camera sitting in a little carbon nacelle. That sends a signal up to the helicopter, which circulates around the circuit. And that live picture from the race car is in your living room just a millisecond after it's actually come from the car. Phenomenal technology. Here, a very skilled helicopter pilot does not hover usually above the circuit, but tracks with the cars. There you see him actually following the line of the circuit. And the pictures coming up from Bernd Schneider's car to really enhance our television pictures of the German Touring Car Masters. So that's how the television pictures get to you, and even the thumbs up just like that, live from on board. But moving on now to Sunday, to the drivers' parade, and a huge crowd at Zandvoort. There's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. As we said, we're using the 4.3 kilometre version of the circuit, 26 laps in prospect. There is Gary Pavic with Jean Alesi. And Gary, of course, still in with a chance of taking this title in only his second year. Jeroen Bleekemolen, expecting him to put in a good performance. He's got a 2004 spec Opel today.
It's a very big, very noisy, very vocal crowd here to urge on the two Dutch drivers, Christian Albers and Jeroen Bleekemolen. 36 laps, 155.052 kilometres of the Zandvoort circuit, and it's going to be a very demanding lap indeed. The famous Tarzan hairpin at the very start of it. This is how they line up. The front row, Mattias Ekström and Gary Pavic alongside him. It's Audi and Mercedes on row one.
Yes, David, and then on row two, Bernd Schneider and Martin Tomczyk, fast all through the practice and qualifying sessions.
The third row, Christian Abt, Audi, and he's going to line up alongside his teammate, Tom Christensen, the winner last time out.
And then behind the two yellow Audis, We've got another Mercedes-Benz, a disappointed Christian Albers, the local man, and Manuel Reuter, the best of the Opals.
Next on the grid, it is Timo Scheider, who went so well here last year, but a bungled pit stop cost him any chance of a win. And lining up alongside him in another of the Opel Vectras, ever improving, is Marcel Fassler.
And on the next row behind them, we've got another Audi, Emanuele Pirro, and then Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the former Jordan Grand Prix star.
The 7th row, 2 drivers much further back than they would like to be. For Mercedes, Jean Alesi. For Audi, Frank Biela, who has had a far from happy season in DTM. He lines up only 14th quickest.
Yes, David, and then behind them, Jerome Bleekemolen, the other Dutch driver, and also unhappy, Peter Dumbreck, the 2 Opels alongside each other.
Stefan Mucker, with his year-old Mercedes, lines up next on the grid. Alongside him, another year-old Merc in the hands of Markus Winkelhock.
Yes, you could say this is the second-hand part of the grid. There is Bernd Mailander, but Laurent Aiello well back in the Playboy car.
And the last car on the grid by time is Jaroslav Yanis with his Mercedes, although Stefan Mucker will ultimately start right at the very back of the grid, Andrew.
Yes, indeed, he had a problem. It is almost go, it is go. Look at those Audis. It's almost as if they've got four-wheel drive the way they left the line. They haven't, and it's a dive down into this Tarzan corner where James Hunt and Mario Andretti finished up in the heat once.
Well, no dramas this time in DTM. They're all safely through so far. They're all safely around full stop, and it is Ekstrom in the lead. Ben Schneider second. He's got the jump on Gary Paffett. Then in 4th place, looks like being Tomczyk as they wriggle their way through for the first time down towards the Hugenholz box. Timo Scheider there making his way through. Fassler behind him. Manuel Reuter there as well. Also Heinz-Harald Frentzen keeping out of trouble. And the cars powering their way around the first lap of the race here, but a great getaway by Ekstrom.
Look at that crowd. The organisers just announced a 3-day attendance of 73,000, and they've come to see a tremendous race here. We ride on board with Christian Albers, second in the championship last year for Mercedes-Benz. Ekstrom, Schneider, Gary Paffett in 3rd place. So it's in the front Audi, then it's Mercedes, then it's Mercedes, and then it's Audi, Audi, Audi.
And 1 or 2 worth keeping an eye to further back, of course. Peter Dumbreck and Laurent Aiello, for example, in their Opels with a lot of work to do here. Accelerating their way then up towards the completion of lap 1. It is Ekstrom then with Schneider going after him. 3rd is Paffett, 4th is Tomczyk. And there you can see in the background, look, one of the Mercedes, that's Jean Alesi, I think, diving up on the inside of Bleekemolen. The 2 of them absolutely together, but Bleekemolen's got the rest line for the corner then. And having a look to get past him was Frank Biela. It doesn't quite work. Biela stuck behind Jean Alesi. Alesi tried to get past Bleekemolen, but Jeroen had the better line for the corner and keeps the place.
Yeah, the fiery Frenchman is still a great driver to watch, really trying hard. But he couldn't make that stick. And the lead just 0.4 of a second. 1 lap down in the book.
The Tarzan hairpin they come then. This a favourite place to outbrake. Jean Alesi tries again to get past Jeroen Bleekemolen. The support of the home crowd, I think, here really helping the Dutchman.
David, it's a great corner. It's really wide, it's banked, and there's 2 or 3 different lines around it. There's been some fantastic overtaking manoeuvres there over the last 30 years or so, and it will be no different today. On board with Christian Albers.
That's right, got the 2 yellow Audis ahead, and these are the 2 race leaders. It is still Ekstrom ahead of Ben Schneider, but the Christensen battle now being caught, I reckon, by Christian Albers. That's a very, very good shot, isn't it? Really gives you an impression of the speed of a DTM car around Zandvoort.
Certainly does. As ever, 2 pit stops coming up here, and as you can see, lots of different gradients here. The surface very tricky. Sometimes the sand tends to blow across it. The grip levels you have tend to alter during the race, depending on how much wind there is. But we ride with Martin Tomczyk, who's having a very strong race here again. Everyone's settled down a little bit now, David. And Gary Paffett, if he's going to really push for this championship, needs to make a move. Paffett there behind Bernd Schneider. And I must think now that there are going to be some team orders. Riding with Manuel Reuter.
At the moment, he's the best of the Opels as they come up towards the completion of the lap. It'll be fascinating to see what Schneider does here. Is he going to attack or is he going to let Gary Paffett go? Of course, Ben Schneider is in no mood to concede races. He wants to remind people that he's still just as good, just as quick as ever. It has not been a good year by his standards. Of course, Gary Paffett and Christian Albers have done all the winning for Mercedes, but Ben Schneider here in 2nd place, and he's got a realistic chance of being the winner come the end of the afternoon. I rather doubt he's going to take kindly to being told to get out of Paffett's way, and if anything, now Gary having to defend him because Tomczyk is all over him like a cheap suit.
He most certainly is, and sparks flying from the Mercedes. They're obviously running those as low as they can. So some great opening action here, but some very fast times from Matthias Ekstrom. 1:36.3 on his second and first flying lap. And here is the slow-mo of the start. Absolutely fantastic start from Ekstrom. As I said, David, it looked almost as if we got four-wheel drive the way he accelerated off the line.
But Ben Schneider, of course, at the start, getting ahead of Gary Paffett, who was just a little bit bogged down. And, of course, Paffett's on the better line for the corner. He's on the inside. Then he seemed to break a bit earlier for the corner as well. Tomczyk had to lock up in avoidance. So Gary Paffett, who doesn't have much circuit knowledge of Zandvoort, not making the best of starts there.
Yeah, he's raced in Formula 3 a couple of times here, but as you say, does not know the circuit as well as some of the other drivers. We see the start this time from Tomczyk's perspective, and that dive into that Tarzan corner.
You can see how close he got to the back of Gary Paffett's car, then had a look for a gap coming out of the Tarzan hairpin. There's Heinz-Harald Frentzen. His miserable season continues. He's got a problem, Andrew Marriott.
Smoke coming off the left front wheel, and I'm not sure if that is just the tyre touching. What
Maybe
can we
this
see
gives us
here?
the answer. Let's see. No contact, but the smoke, I think, was there, wasn't it, before he came into the corner? So, yes, there is the smoke on that front left. So certainly Heinz-Harald Frentzen with a problem, and maybe the pits beckons for him now.
We're getting close to the first pit stops here. I'm not sure if we're going to see any different strategies. There is Christian Albers then. Still the odd rumour that he may be testing a Formula 1 car. Incidentally, Gary Paffett has not yet tested for a Sauber, but lots of cars going into the pits.
It's to get them out of the traffic, I think, isn't it? He had a leading bunch of, 8 or 9 cars there, which had got into a stalemate situation, nobody being able to overtake or trying to overtake. And in Formula 1, of course, this is a way of doing it. So too in DTM. Come in early, get out of the traffic.
Ekstrom's stop is super quick, look at that.
Brilliant, brilliant stop that. He came in just ahead of Schneider. He goes out much further ahead of Schneider. Great stop then by the Audi team. He's also got the advantage now, look, of putting 2 other cars between himself and Ben Schneider. So Schneider, first of all, has to contend with the traffic. Then he's got to get back onto terms with the car that he was chasing in the first place.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, out front at the moment, because he hasn't made a stop, is Martin Tomczyk. And we will see most of the other leading contenders stop at the end of this lap, I think. What about Heinz-Harald Frentzen? How's that problem continuing? Oh, he stopped. And the door opens. And Heinz-Harald from Mönchengladbach climbs out. Man with all that Grand Prix experience. One, of course, with Williams, but just can't get it together this year.
It's a familiar sight, isn't it, I'm afraid? Frentzen's car either stationary by the side of the road or in the pits. He really has had a miserable year. You're on board, though, now with Christian Albers. He's had 1 win this season. Can the Dutchman win on home ground? Well, he's got a lot of work to do. If that's going to be the case here at Zandvoort, he comes out of the now Arie Luijendijk curve, and he's going for the pits. In. Christian Albers darts into the pit lane.
I think Christensen might be the man who's just in front of him as well. See what these pit stops bring us.
The leader is in as well. Look, Martin Tomczyk. Christensen's on the move. Tomczyk just ahead of him. That was very close indeed. There's Christian Albers rejoining. He's still behind Christensen. Christensen is still behind Tomczyk, and there's a bit of leaning going on there. The Mercedes being barged aside.
Yeah, both the Audis got past in that little manoeuvre, and now they're bumping into each other. Wow, this is DTM and its best. Look at Gary Paffett. Well, Gary got stuck in amongst those Audis, and a great camera looking backwards there.
Well, I think he's going to be all fired up, isn't he, having been swatted aside by the Audis as they came out of the pit lane. While all that's going on, remember what happened at the Nürburgring? Emanuele Pirro stayed out longer than anybody and took the lead of the race. Well, it's happened again. Emanuele Pirro is currently leading here at Zandvoort for the Audi team.
Well, I think that may make Mercedes-Benz very unhappy indeed. Let's see what happens, though, see what transpires.
Sean Alesi currently second, he's yet to stop. Third is Biela, yet to stop. Fourth is Dumbrack. Fifth is Winkelhock. Sixth Aiello. They've all yet to make a stop. So in real terms, the race leader is Matthias Ekström, then Ben Schneider, then it is Christian Abt, and Gary Paffett, of course, now chasing those two yellow Audis because Tom Christensen has sneaked ahead of him as well. Into the pits this time comes Alesi, in also comes Peter Dumbrack, and Emanuele Pirro stays out for another lap and he still leads.
Very tight into that pit lane. They have to be so careful on the brakes as they dive in onto the rev limiter, popping along into their box, and these mechanics will go to work. They practice this in the workshop.
And Dumbrack stalls. Didn't lose him too much time, but in DTM you can ill afford to do things like that. So Peter Dumbrack just losing a fraction of time, and well, there you can see how close they are leaving the pit lane. Had it not been for that stall, he may have been able to leapfrog the Mercedes.
Indeed, yes. So Peter Dumbrack down amongst the midfield runners now as he rejoins the circuit.
There's Frank Biela, another man that's had a fairly awful season, but he's chasing his Le Mans co-driver of years past, Emanuele Pirro. And Matthias Ekström now, of course, making it a 1-2-3 for Audi, but the two ahead of him have yet to stop, so he'll inherit the lead in due course.
Yeah, Frank didn't even have a very good Le Mans this year to do a lot of the driving himself after Alan McNish, of course, hurt himself. It'd be nice to see Alan McNish in one of these cars, wouldn't it? And, well, that might happen one day.
I think, though, to do as much driving as Frank Biela and Pierre Caffer had to do and still finish fourth was showing Frank Biela at his best, to be honest. It was a very good, commendable result in an era when two drivers is almost disregarded as an option by most teams. It wasn't done deliberately, I know. Well, Frank Biela chasing Pirro now. They come up across the line, and the Audi fans have a lot to cheer for now because you have this notional 1-2 for Pirro and Biela, and Matthias Ekström, the real leader, chasing them hard.
Yes, indeed. We talk about Le Mans and Audi there, David, and it is quite a lot of Audi technology, Le Mans technology, I should say, in these Audis, and the same technical team behind both the wonderful R8 Le Mans winner and these cars here.
And there's a man that used to go to watch DTM as a small boy and who said to his father, that's what I want to do one day. And Matthias Ekström now is not only racing in it, he's leading the championship. And he's got the old master of DTM, Ben Schneider, behind him. Now get your anoraks on. When was the last time Ben Schneider went a season without a victory? Because that is what he's staring in the face at the moment.
Yes, a number of years. David, I'm sure will know that off the top of his head. And a bit of a moment there for Marcel Fasler, kicking up the dust in the Opel. And Fasler, of course, transferred this year to Mercedes-Benz, the Swiss driver.
Well, that's Schneider's second stop undertaken. He rejoins, and that is Tomczyk, I think, trying to squeeze away past. Yes, it is. You can see that the second round of pit stops being taken early by one or two drivers, and Ben Schneider now, having had the two pit stops, can go to the end.
But this is just the sort of drive that Matthias Ekström needed to try to get this championship. Look at this. And Ekström saying in practice just how well balanced his car is. Look at this, wheel-to-wheel, Mercedes and Audi. And the Audi outbrakes the Mercedes, and Schneider goes behind.
Good move this by Tomczyk. Just look at the gap he goes for. It is barely Audi-sized, but even so, Martin Tomczyk breathes in, squeezes up the inside, and gains the place from Ben Schneider. So Matthias Ekström, the race leader, and now rather dictating the pace of this race here.
Some 17 laps in the book, and past the start-finish line once again. Here's Martin Tomczyk. Great onboard shots, chasing Jerome Bleekemolen.
Whose father did race briefly in Formula 1, Michael Bleekemolen. And Martin Tomczyk looking for a way past. He's going to do it on the inside. Tomczyk, who seems to like going for narrow gaps, squeezes by Ben Schneider, gets ahead of Bleekemolen as well. Schneider still chasing, of course, in the Mercedes.
David, this isn't the only seaside circuit in world motor racing. Phillip Island in Australia, another. It is very, very close to the beaches of Zandvoort as Gary Paffett completes his second pit stop.
That's right, so Gary Paffett's Mercedes back into the race. Going through the Tarzan hairpin. That's Christian Abt in the pit lane, and he has clearly got a problem. Lots of smoke, the rear bodywork being taken off the car, and that, I fear, is the end of the day for Christian Abt. So The mechanics are there, fire extinguisher ready as well, and the Audi is a retirement.
Der Feuerlöscher hat sich automatisch gelöst.
The fire extinguisher came loose all by itself. We have to investigate the reason for that. It's no one's fault. I'm sorry about that. But really, we don't know what happened. That's Hans-Jürgen Abt, of course.
Look at this, a drive-through penalty for Gary Paffett for aggressive driving, for pushing another car. Now, we didn't see it, but Gary Paffett being given a drive-through penalty, and that is really going to ruin his race now.
Yes, I have no idea what that's about. We didn't see it on camera. And there is Gary, and he's, well, not exactly shaking his head in the cockpit. He must be wondering what's going on. Not a mark on the front of the car. It could only have been a subtle nudge.
Here it is.
Well, he was late on the brakes, but did that deserve a penalty?
I think if Tom Christensen had been able to hold... Oh, look at that!
Accident.
Huge accident.
Peter Dumbreck has had a massive accident. The Opel is destroyed. Let's hope Peter's okay.
That's coming out of the last corner onto the pit straight where there's precious little runoff area. It is a very, very fast corner. The course cars go out onto the circuit immediately. And I think a red flag is being waved. Yes, it is. The race is being stopped, and you can well understand why. There are bits of Opel all over the road. There's clearly no way the race is going to be able to continue. And that was a mighty accident for Peter Dumbreck. The race is being stopped. Everybody making their way back towards the pit lane. The marshals are quickly on the scene, just looking down at the circuit. And there is barely anything left of that Opel Vectra.
Now you can still see the tubular frame, and that seems to have retained most of its integrity, David, but as you say, all the suspension and bodywork is off the car. Well, that is one of the biggest accidents we've ever seen in DTM.
Well, the cars are going to be lined up on the grid in due course, but the immediate concern, of course, is to make sure that Peter is okay. There he is, look. A miraculous escape, standing by the side of the car, and Peter Dumbreck is safe and sound.
And that's the biggest accident since his car flipped, of course, at Le Mans about 4 years ago. Well,
it also shows the strength, doesn't it, of a modern-day racing car. They may look like touring cars, but under the skin, very, very strong racing cars. And here's a replay. Peter running wide, coming out of the corner, into the barriers. The car rolls over, and over, and over, and over. It's a very similar accident, looking at the livery and the wreckage and the net result, to Jason Bargwanna's infamous Australian touring car accident. He walked away from that. Peter Dumbreck walks away from his Opel. And spirits lifted a little bit now they've seen Peter get out of the car, but that an absolutely massive accident.
A lot of debris over the circuit, all the safety cars there very, very quickly. And part of the car, you see, is that the engine, which is separated from the car. Here's Volker Stajcek, the head of Opel Motorsport. One of the bad moments you have to endure sometimes as a motorsport boss.
And there's Peter walking to the ambulance. He'll go to the medical centre, of course, for a checkup. But the fact that he can walk there is very good news indeed. He's going to be rather sore, I would think, tomorrow morning. He'll be a bit shaken by that. You can understand why. But the fact that he's able to walk away from it, and just look at this again, runs out of road, coming out of the corner into the tyres, which launch him over. But the momentum the car has, all that energy, it just rolls and rolls and rolls.
I'm fine at the moment anyway, you know, for sure my neck will stiffen up a bit, but I've got no broken bones. I was awake through the whole crash. Of course I felt a big impact when I hit into the tyres. But, you know, I was fine, and I was trying to get out of the car straight away. And I think that, you know, I'll be fighting fit for the next race, no problem.
So everyone waiting, not 75% of the distance completed, David, so this will be a two-part race, and the second part will be a 10-lap dash, and they will add the time of that to the time of the previous race, less 2 laps. So this should see a bit of intrigue. The clean-up process continues. And we can hear now from the boss of Audi Sport, Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich.
Ja, ich denke, wir werden jetzt eine Startaufstellung machen.
I think we will now use the starting grid resulting from the end of the race before it was stopped. For this grid, we will start the second race in the lead. The number of laps, I think, will be 10, so it will be a sprint race, says Dr. Ulrich.
Ich glaube aber, es werden 10 Runden sein. Es wird ein Sprint werden auf jeden Fall.
So basically saying what we had thought would be the situation. Here is the revised grid, David, to the two Audis on the front row, and then Pirro, you see, of course, hadn't made the second stop. He'll still have to make that stop up on row 2, and there the rest of the field. So, as we said, an intriguing situation, looking good for Ekstrom. And Heinz-Harald Frentzen, I'm not sure if he will take the restart from the back. Here they go again for the start of the second part of this race, and off they go, and it's another good start by Matthias Ekstrom from Tomczyk, Albers, Schneider and Gary Paffett. And watch Gary Paffett, he's down the inside there. Paffett, remember, has had that penalty, but well, this has really negated that, David Addison.
That's right, you're on board now with Ron Blekemolen, who's about to lose a place, but it's the two Red Bull Audis then at the head of the field at the moment. Matthias Ekstrom ahead of Martin Tomczyk, the rest of the field all far through. Look at this, very crowded house ahead of Blekemolen. That's Muka and Yanis leaning on each other. The two-year-old Mercedes then connect with one another, they both battle on. But up front, the two Audis desperately want to break clear of the opposition. They don't want to get involved in any fighting, and this 10-lap dash now is going to decide the result.
Well, exciting, absolutely explosive stuff here at Zandvoort in Holland. Round 8 of the German Touring Car Masters. Ekstrom, Tomczyk, Albers, Schneider, Paffett, Pirro there still in 6th place, and Christensen right to the best of the Opels. Well, that team must be a little bit shaken.
Yeah, the Opel drivers, I suspect, have had to really get up the loins here to try and get the spirits back in order to go racing after seeing one of their compatriots have that accident. And the way now you can see that Tomczyk is coming under pressure. He really is going to have to work overtime here.
At least, David, I don't think there was any suggestion it was a mechanical failure. I think Peter just ran wide. So at least the drivers will know that.
Now, Albers is the man on a mission, isn't he? He's already gained 3 places since the restart, and he's looking to try and find a way now past Martin Tomczyk as the cars make their way up towards the completion of another lap. Albers now comes across the line. And I suspect what's also going on here is that Tomczyk's able now to hold everybody up and let Ekstrom try and build up the lead, and that's what he needs for the championship.
Yes, indeed, and I think, David, some clarification on how the result will be computed.
It's only this 10-lap restart, so a bit like you see in the UK, it's not going to be Part A plus Part B. They took the result of the first part for the grid, and the result of this second 10-lap sprint is going to give us the result of the race itself.
So this is everything to play for. But still, they'll have to keep to their pit stop strategies, so Pirro will have to come in, I guess.
Albers absolutely flying at the moment, of course. He's been able to get ahead of Bernd Schneider, who for most of this race, or the first part of the race at any rate, was looking the man most likely to for Mercedes. But now it is Albers on his own home ground, and really this restart has given him the ideal opportunity to try and make a bit more ground.
This is absolutely the perfect situation for Audi, because Ekstrom has Tomczyk really defending him from the rest of the Mercedes crew, which are trying to catch up with him. Absolutely perfect for Ekstrom.
As he's the rear gunner, isn't he? So you've got Tomczyk then keeping all the Mercedes bottled up behind him, and Matthias Ekstrom now trying to break away at the front. In fact, all the Mercedes are queuing up there. You've got Albers, you've got Schneider, then Gary Paffett, and Martin Tomczyk is having to fulfill a very important role here. As Pirro just tottering over the curb a little bit. He's got the Tom Christensen Audi next up. There is Tom making his way up through the double right-hander here. What used to be the Boss out curve, now the Ari Luijendijk curve. Up over the line comes Albers. Now he needs a good toe here and an awful lot of bravery to have a go under braking. He pops out of the slipstream, has a look, thinks better of it and tucks back in again as they go to the Tarzan happy. But there, Albers right under the rear wing of Tomczyk. I'm still moderately surprised that Ekstrom's not pulling away further than this. He's got a cushion of, what, 3 or 4 lengths, but he's not really romping away, is he?
No, but I think Tomczyk's really hooked up well with his Audi. Those 2 Red Bull cars really going very strongly. And I'm still wondering about team orders from Mercedes-Benz, because Gary Paffett needs these points if he's to stay in the hunt for the title. And he really needs to be at least 3rd. At the moment, he's only 5th.
There's Schneider, he's 4th ahead of him. And at the moment, they're not able to match the pace of Christian Albers. And of course, Albers is doing all the fighting here, isn't he? He's the one taking the battle to Audi.
He wants to be on the podium here on home soil, of course.
Replay here. This is Tom Christensen finally moving ahead of Emanuele Pirro. Dives through, cuts across, takes the line for the corner.
And going into this race, Tom Christensen still had a mathematical chance of winning this title. Just the one victory this year, of course. Look at this, and there goes Paffett in front of Scheider. Was that orchestrated or not?
Looked like it, and there's a bump in the back of Schneider's car. That's Tom Christensen doing the bumping now. He's alongside the Mercedes. Scheider says, you're not coming through. They lead on each other. Tom Christensen eventually is on the wrong line for the next corner. Ben Scheider keeps the place now. Can Christensen dive up on the inside? Not quite. Ben Scheider closes the door, but as far as that pass from Paffett was concerned, it wasn't exactly the most spirited defence ever offered by Scheider, was it?
No, it wasn't. And David, it's action like this which makes the DTM so popular, isn't it? Tremendous stuff here. Ekstrom, Tomczyk, Albers, Paffett, Scheider, that's your top five. Tom Christensen would like to change all that.
He's got Pirro behind him, of course, the next to the Audis. Still Matthias Ekstrom, though, with disadvantage. He's done the best lap of the race again in this second part. And Martin Tomczyk then with Christian Albers behind him. I just wonder now what fourth place man Gary Paffett can do.
As we said, just 2 more races after this one. Next stop, the Czech Republic and Brno, and that's a challenging circuit as well.
Christian Albers absolutely flying, but so also is Paffett. Gary Paffett is now starting to close on the top 3, isn't he? Now that he's managed to get himself ahead of Scheider, he's got clear track for a little while. He really is going for it. On board now with Albers. Tomczyk ahead, and Ekstrom ahead of all of them.
Christian Albers, of course, done a lot of his early racing at Zandvoort, knows every inch of this racetrack. Certainly knows the track better than anyone else here, and I think that includes Jerome Bleekemolen.
And he's putting it to good use now, isn't he, as he goes after Tomczyk. Matthias Ekstrom just inching away, not massively so, but the gap is creeping up between the leader and the rest as he comes now up towards the completion of the lap. And a mistake there from Albers, too fast into the corner, ran over the curb, a wheel in the gravel. You saw the car get sideways, the dirt fly, and that's cost him 2-3 lengths. The Mercedes flags wave, Norbert Haug looks on, the Mercedes Motorsport boss, but Albers has lost time to the 2 Audis.
And once again, they dive down into the Tarzan corner. And there you see Albers, good save by him, getting it sideways, just using a bit too much curb. And that will cost him a little bit of momentum.
And it means that Paffett's going to be a bit closer, of course, so now Gary has a real chance of being on the podium. If he can get into the top 3 here, it'll be a really good recovery by Gary. Paffett with the best lap of the race to his credit now. Gary Paffett absolutely storming on. Accusers of being biased if you wish, but he really has been one of the revelations of the DTM this year, the young Brit.
He most certainly has. Earned himself a lot of plaudits and still in with a chance for this title. In fact, with 2 races to go, there's a lot to play for yet, although this is looking very good for Ekstrom.
Yeah, he needs as many cars between himself and Paffett as possible. He came into this round 11 points up on the Brit, and he wants to increase that advantage, and the way things are going, he's going to do it.
Currently 17 cars running out there. And look at this great shot here of Gary Paffett. These onboard shots from the rear bumper giving you a superb view.
And you can see from those shots from Albers' car how much closer Gary Paffett is. And although at the start of this race it was Albers taking the battle to Audi, now he's going to have to defend. Audi, Audi, Mercedes, Mercedes in the top 4. They come across the line. 8 tenths between the top 2. Ben Scheider 5th for Mercedes, 6th it's Christensen for Audi, 7th for Audi is Pirro, 8th is Reuter for Opel, 9th is Scheider, who's been a bit anonymous in this race for Opel, and 10th Frank Bieler for Audi. So barring a disaster, it looks as though Matthias Ekstrom possibly now has sewn it up. Martin Tomczyk still chasing him, but also, of course, fulfilling his job description here, keeping everybody else at bay. The Audi management looks reasonably satisfied with this at the moment.
Well, they certainly should be, and this is the first year of a full factory Audi effort in the DTM for some years. In the past, of course, they've used the TT, and that man Hans-Jürgen Abt we just saw was running the team as an unofficial Audi outfit, but now the full factory behind it. And it's Audi's first and second.
Gary Paffett now right with Christian Albers, and I suspect that as these two battle, it's going to let the Audis pull yet further away. Albers, who wants to go higher than third, now is going to have to work hard to maintain even that position because Gary Paffett is reeling him in.
Well, Albers, of course, also in with a chance of this championship, so there's no question of doubt about Mercedes-Benz team orders here. It's everyone for themselves. And the three top Mercedes running together. And Jean Alesi, I have to say, has been a little bit disappointing here. Not really keeping with the trio at the front there.
Yes, Alesi has good days and bad days, doesn't he? When he's good, he's very, very quick. And when he's off the boil, you hardly know he's there. Tom Christensen as well, look, is coming back at Bernd Schneider. Now, we saw the two of them rubbing door handles a couple of laps ago. There up on the inside is Jean Alesi. So much for being anonymous. Welcome back, Jean. That's more like it.
Brave move on the brakes.
It didn't work, though. He's still, I'm afraid, at the back of that queue of cars. But Jean Alesi back to his fiery best there. It was Marcel Fassler he was trying to find a way past. Couldn't quite do it. Fassler, of course, switching from Mercedes to Opel this year. And he's had some good days and bad days, but Opels round here really have struggled, haven't they, this weekend?
Yes, they have. They're very close to the Mercedes and the Audis, but they're not quite there. The team taking a different route engineering-wise for 2004, and it's got them a bit closer to the front, but they're still just the odd half second off the two other manufacturers.
But here, the best Opel is only 8th. Now, we've seen them go much, much better than that in earlier rounds, so whether it's the Opel Vectra that just doesn't get on with Zandvoort, or whether they've gone the wrong way on setup, well, we'll have to find out after the race maybe. But Volker Strijek, I fear, will have little to smile about at the end of today. The results aren't there, and that car-destroying accident for Peter Dumbreck will not do much for his mood.
Absolutely correct, and I think their main problem seems to be with traction out of the slower corners.
Well, there's Scheider, who was in with a sniff of winning here last year, and a replay of Jean Alesi's battle here with Marcel Fassler. Well, he's managed to nose ahead, but not for long. He locks up, gets the wrong line for the corner, Fassler through. And Norbert Haug watching this as the cars are on lap 7 of the 10 in this restarted race now. It's bunching up again, isn't it? Second, third and fourth. Paffett spurring on Albers. Albers catching up to Tomczyk now.
Yes, and the great thing about Zandvoort is there are quite a lot of overtaking places, particularly, of course, at the end of the long straight. So this race is far from over. Just to remind you again, it is just the result of this race. This is not a two-part race. As we erroneously said earlier on, this race counts just the 10-lap sprint.
There's Tom Christensen getting ever closer to Bernd Schneider. And the yellow Audi, winner of course at Ottersleben, now catching. Matthias Ekström pulling away a little bit more from Tomczyk, who in turn has built up a gap between himself and Albers. Dan Paffett fourth, and here's the real battle, 5th and 6th. Schneider and Christensen running together.
All the cars, of course, with these V8 engines, David, and spec gearboxes. They've kept the cost down, this current edition, if you will, of the DTM. And that's why we've got the manufacturers running so many good cars and good drivers in it, and the gap has just widened a little bit, 1/10 of a second. And it is Ekström who continues to command this race from the front. And we're on the final 2 laps now. And there is no way that the Audi management will allow Tomczyk to challenge Ekström, even if he could. This is Christian Albers' view of the 2 Audis in front of him.
Yeah, Martin Tomczyk will do his job prospects a lot more good by staying second and keeping the Mercedes at bay. Battle here, look, between the Timo Scheider-driven Opel, and right up with him is Jean Alesi. The two of them are nose to tail. Now, which way does Jean go to try and find a way through? They plunge downhill, desperately fast part of the circuit this, and Timo Scheider in the Opel Vectra, 9th at the moment, just being able to maintain that place, but only just.
There you see that great Tarzan corner with its banking, and there is how you use it to overtake. So Fazler goes through.
And meantime, the Mercedes for third get closer and closer to one another. Paffett tucked up behind Albers now. Tom Christensen inching up onto the tail of Ben Schneider, but really he needs Ben to be delayed a little bit or just lose momentum. That will give him the opportunity he needs. The cars so evenly matched here.
And the four of them spread out over about just a second. Albers to Paffett, half a second.
It's coming down, isn't it? By fractions of a second. Gary is inching up, then creeping up onto the back of Christian Albers. Go, 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 says the banner for Christian Albers and also for your own Bleekemolen. Over the line they come. Gary Paffett a little bit closer again, but even if he can get right onto the tail of Albers, then the hard part really starts. He's got to get past.
Yes, and that's not going to be easy, but he might just be able to do it. Again, that great rear bumper cam showing Gary trying to find a way round.
He's on the last lap, he's running out of options. The Audi team is preparing to celebrate, but who's going to be the best of the Mercedes drivers? Well, when we started the race, it looked as though it was going to be Ben Schneider, but a lot has happened since then. A huge accident for Peter Dumbrack, a red flag, a restart, a sprint race effectively over 10 laps. Matthias Ekström, who has driven brilliantly all weekend, looks as though he is on target for a third win of the season. Martin Tomczyk driving impeccably in second place, and then third and fourth. You're looking at them together. Christian Albers just ahead of Gary Paffett. But this weekend, it's all about Audi.
It most certainly is. So they're climbing up the fence to see this great Audi victory here. Two Audis in front of the two Mercedes-Benz. This quartet having broken away from the rest of the field.
Over the curve goes Albers. Gary Paffett tucked up behind him, but I don't think he's going to be able to have a go unless he gets a really good run out of these last couple of corners. Meantime, Matthias Ekström is on target for win number 3. The checkered flag is ready. Zandvoort, DTM, Audi, Matthias Ekström is the winning combination. He comes across the line to celebrate. Martin Tomczyk second, Christian Albers third, and celebrates a podium finish in front of his home crowd. Gary Paffett is fourth, fifth over the line, Ben Schneider, and Tom Christensen rounds out the top 6. And the Audi team very, very happy.
Yes, indeed, but I think Albers will be very happy with that performance. And, well, look at that. So, Red Bull Audis, first and second.
And two more of the young guns, of course, in DTM.
Well, this is the best Mercedes driver, Christian Albers. Well, he was strong the whole weekend, but we lost the way in qualifying a little bit. Whether that was me or the car, we're not sure. We'll look at the data and analyse that later. But I'm happy the team gave me such a good car for the race. It was very tough. I finished the race in fourth place at the crash, and then we had to begin the second race in sixth place. And it's difficult to overtake more than 3 cars in turn 1. You just can't do it. Anyway, I tried everything, and it's important for the championship to finish third.
And these are the race results. Matthias Ekström, the winner from Martin Tomczyk. Christian Albers third, then Gary Paffett fourth, ahead of Ben Schneider in fifth place. Tom Christensen sixth, Pirro seventh, Reuter is eighth. Jean Alesi, though, a disappointing 11th at the end of the 8th round of DTM. And Martin Tomczyk, a real star drive for second place.
First of all, I would not have been able to get past the man in front of me, Matthias Ekström. That wouldn't be allowed. Of course, he is racing for the championship. Everyone knows what the situation is then. Here are the championship points, and here is the winner of the race.
It was a great race. I mean, all the weekend we were very fast, and to be in the front was really a perfect race for me. But the best was that Martin was second, and he did an excellent job. And because of that, I got some more points difference to Albers and Paffett, which I really needed.
The top 3 drivers there on the podium: Matthias Ekström, Martin Tomczyk, and Christian Albers. Now the celebrations begin. Audi, Mercedes here at Zandvoort. Mercedes only third, not the result Norbert Haug was hoping for.
I think the most important result is that Peter is okay and that the accident did not do him any harm. I think it speaks for the safety of the car. Opel did a great job on this car. I think the safety on the racetrack with the tire walls needs to be discussed. Maybe there is an improvement. There's a possibility for an improvement. But the most important thing is Peter is okay, and then that is very important, and it's good like that.
Well, here at Zandvoort, it was a great day for Audi. We're going to leave you with some of the images of this race. Yes, Peter Dumbreck lucky to walk away from that huge accident. Holland's own Christian Albers finishing in third place. Gary Paffett also retains his chance of taking the title, as does Albers, but definitely the man of the race, the man of the day, Matthias Ekstrom. David, your final thoughts?
A wonderful performance this by Ekstrom all weekend, but the Zandvoort circuit, ideal it seems for DTM. We've had some great racing. We've had some excellent overtaking manoeuvres. We've had some wonderful battles raging on through the field. And marred, sadly, by Peter Dumbreck's accident. It has certainly proved the strength of a DTM car. And maybe the best news of the weekend is that Peter walked away from it. But great action from DTM. Disappointment for Opel. Not an ideal result for Mercedes, but a great weekend in Holland for Matthias Ekstrom, for Martin Tomczyk, and for Audi.
Thank you, David. From me, Andrew Marriott, and from David, goodbye until the next round from Brno in the Czech Republic.